Mitchell, how are you? And we're going to talk about, the dream. You got published now. This is
Yes.
the big deal. And you have a series that's coming out. Let's talk about the series a little bit by just going into the first character, and we'll go through a couple characters today.
Okay. Well, the main character is Abby Rhodes. That's one I introduced in Scales of Justice. Now I kind of did a reboot with her, but she has a backstory that leads in this story arc of at least 6 books. So we're going to do one every 6 months. We've agreed with the publisher to do that. But she is a fledgling homicide detective in Nashville. And so the first case that she has to deal with is a pastor found dead in the bottom of the baptistry. And so she has to go back to a church, and that's where you start learning her backstory, where her father was a very, very critical and abusive missionary. So her view of God and church is very, very negative. And so that's kind of her story arc and reformation and reclaiming her. But at the same time, she has to deal with the ghosts of her past, also see that there are people who are legitimate out there. And so she struggles with her own.
No, that's very, very interesting for sure. And she learns in the process from Scales of Justice what she as this character now, right? And
Right.
develop.
Yeah. So what happened is I love the whole character of Abby Rhodes, and in this 6 book story, our arc is obviously going back to the Beatles album with Abbey Road, and so one of those books will be songs, and she is being taunted and trying to catch the killer before they continue to kill. But the
Oh,
first book's called Water Grave.
okay. Now, the character Abby Rhodes, who do you kind of depict her after in your like looking at how you wrote and created this character?
Physically, or
And I guess everyone.
okay. I wanted her to be petite, short, so she's underestimated. Also, being a woman in the kind of dominant homicide male, especially here in Nashville, they have a program called 30 at 30. So they're trying to get 30% of the force women by the year 2030. And so they're struggling with that. But she's in a dominant male world. She's also has that tainted vision because of her past. But I'm want her to be someone who is intelligent. She picks up on things quickly. She has a very good memory. She has this just kind of an innate sense of what's coming next, and that's her intuition that she shows with it. But she's got to get convince people to trust her as she learns to trust herself as well. So she's tougher than she looks. But I want that facade to be something that appears in all aspects to be weak.
So introducing the storyline and other characters without giving it away, kind of go into that.
Okay. It begins with the death of a pastor who is also ended up drowned in his church baptistry. And so someone within there, someone that he knows, that he's at least familiar with, has committed the murder. So the whole thing is looking inside the church, looking around the church, dealing with corruption that's there, dealing with her prejudices. But she has to investigate the people of the church, anyone who would have problems with this pastor. And so this is a young pastor who is changing an old traditional church into a thriving young church that is also starting a Hispanic congregation. And so there are a lot of resentment from the old group.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, and in that process and investigating a murder, that's going to be interesting because I'm sure that the congregation's wondering who did this, right, and all that different stuff.
Yeah, and they start looking at each other. They start wondering who would felt that. And so a lot of inner fighting. And so as a former pastor and a former counselor, a lot of that I pull in with the people who have tainted. And my main audience is women, but it's also the person who has been hurt somewhere along the line by someone in the church. And so this is Abby's story is dealing with that hurt and against the stereotype that everyone in the church is that
All right, let's go to a couple other main characters in
way.
this
Okay.
first book. Just not giving away, which is the main character there.
Okay. One of the other main characters is Susan Ripley. She is the widow of the pastor, and she ends up becoming a friend of Abby's and kind of a mentor for her in this process. Sam Tidwell is her partner, who is has his own backstory, and he's gotten to the disgruntled point. He's an older detective. He could retire at any point in time, but he wants to just get the job over with. So the first viable uh, victim, or not a victim, first viable suspect is the one he wants to go with, and so she fights against that as well.
Very, very interesting. And she's like that, helping the process and the investigation to finally figure out what happens for sure.
Right. And so the dynamic between the two of them is he's supposed to be her mentor, and she ends up pulling him out of his rut, and he guides her along the way.
Interesting. The other characters, how did they from growing up in life or being a pastor, certain things like that?
Yeah. Being a pastor and counseling a lot of people and hearing that same hurt over and over again, where someone had done something in their past with the church. So that's where I kind of piece those together, where Sam is from the outside looking into the church. Susan Ripley obviously is the Christ-like character who is legitimate, and her husband who was dead, killed. The more they investigate, the more they find out that he really was that Christ-like person.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. The hope from the series is what time period is it in?
Now it's set in now, and it's going to come out almost on the date that the murders take place. So everything is 6 months apart where the next book comes out, and that's 6 months later from the book before it.
Mhm. And murder mystery, very, very intriguing. People like that, right?
I hope so.
Definitely, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
What do you hope that the readers get most out of Abby, if you're looking at a character?
Empathetic for those who are in the church to realize that there are people out there who want to believe and want to belong, but have been hurt, that we become sensitive to that. And also for the people on the flip side of that who have been hurt, that they see Abby's struggle and that everyone, that one person that hurt you is not indicative of the entire church. Uh, so there's a church level in there, which I have my Christian inkling, but it's not really a Christian book as much as it is Abby's story that deals with the church. And so the mystery is one line, and the reconciliation is the other.
Very, very okay. Best place people can go is mitchellscarnes.com to purchase your book, learn more about you. It's available. When is
Yeah,
it going to be available in pre-order?
it's Mitchell S. Carnes author
Author.com.
.com.
All right.
It's open for pre-order now. Amazon, directly from WordCraft. You can do that link from my website as well. But it's at 5 different ebook available, and then it releases on January 29th of 2025.
So, but pre-order you can do now.
Pre-order for the ebook, yes.
All right. Excellent. Thanks again, Mitchell. Appreciate it.